So I did struggle with my regulator. Um, my stove is really old. These apartments are really old. Um, and it's impossible for them to replace anything and put new here. So they always replace a stove or a refrigerator or a washer and dryer with another one that's from another apartment. So on my stove, I only have 2 burners that I can use. And there's one that will heat up to warm, but it doesn't ever go any higher than warm. So that's great for me to put something on if I'm just trying to keep it warm. So my front 2 burners are the only ones that work, and trying to get them to replace it is just impossible. So I work with what I have, and that's real life. And I know that a lot more people have better stoves, big homesteads, and I used to think that, that I couldn't do this, but I can do this. I just have to learn to work with what I have. So I finally figured it out. I went online to see why the regulator was not going back and forth and doing the hula dance. And it turns out my stove was not high enough, and I thought I had it on a high enough heat because I had it on medium high and the water was boiling, like boiling. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just leave it on there. I don't want my pot to the water to evaporate and I won't have it. But it wasn't working. And even my pressure gauge, even though you're not supposed to go by it, wasn't even climbing above 5. So I went ahead and I turned it to in between high and medium high, and I took, and I know you're not supposed to do this, but I didn't take the regulator off. I just took the 2 weights off, so I could watch it as the thing would move, and the regulator and my gauge was coinciding, and it was climbing. So as it climbed, I threw my weights back on, so they weren't off, but just a couple minutes. And then it went ahead and started jiggling like it's supposed to. So the person had said in the blog post that I was reading, she says, go ahead and just reset your timer. She says, for the amount that you're supposed to leave your stuff in the pot. So I got to the timer, and I think I had about maybe 5 minutes left, and then all of a sudden the jiggler just stopped, and I'm like, okay. And then I could smell maybe I was running out of water in my pot, and maybe that's the reason why, because I didn't have any more water, it wasn't producing any pressure. So I went ahead and I just turned the pot off, even with the 5 minutes that I had left, because I figured, well, it boiled for a good 20-25 minutes before I even got the jiggler to work. So we'll see. I mean, it was trial and error for me on this first time. I don't know anybody that I can ask how to do this. And my mom is not here with me no more, and neither is my dad or my grandparents. So, and my kids, they don't know how to can. And I have 2 daughters and a son, but they're all grown. And so it's me and my husband. My oldest daughter still lives at home. But yeah, so anyway, it's trial and error, but it seems to be that they're fine. We'll check them in 24 hours to see how well they sealed. So 2 of them did pop. I didn't hear the 3rd one, or maybe it did pop when I was washing the canner, and I just didn't hear it. So I'll continue to listen, and I'll check it tomorrow afternoon. It's 2 o'clock here right now. So this was a very long process because it was a lot of trial and error with me. But next time I know better, and next time I'll know more what to do. So I'm hoping to can again, but this time I will use more hamburgers so I can make 7 jars, and instead of just 3. So anyways, thank you for listening to my video, and give me a thumbs up, and like my channel. I'm new and I'm just starting out, and I just want to share what it's like to live in an apartment and prepare for everything that's happened. To tell you a little bit about myself, I will. So just a touch. I started prepping or preparing hardcore, as much as my finances would allow me, when COVID started. Can I say that word, COVID? Sure, I can say that word. But and my husband and I, we did really good. We didn't get sick or anything. And then November of 2021, my husband's a paramedic, in the field, assistant supervisor for his company, and we don't know where we got it, but he got it first. So he got it first, and then a few days later I started feeling not very well, and I just kind of I was a little bit tired, and I just thought, well, I'm tired anyway because I don't sleep very well. So I just didn't let it go. But then I woke up one Saturday morning and I had a really bad sore throat. So I thought, okay, well, maybe I'm getting sick. And at this time my husband hadn't tested positive for the thing. And he went to work Monday morning and he wasn't feeling good. And he usually goes to work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and every other Wednesday. So he figured, well, he says he wasn't feeling very good. So at that time, his work was giving free tests. So he went down and he got tested. And sure enough, he was positive. But that time, he was having a lot of chest congestion and everything. And I didn't get that. And then by Monday afternoon, my sore throat was gone. And I felt fine. And about 4 or 5 days later, I woke up and I couldn't breathe. I thought I was over whatever I was going through. And so my husband's like, well, I tested positive, so I guarantee that you're positive. And so we just kind of monitor our symptoms for several days. And my breathing got worse. And my husband kept checking the pulse ox and everything, and it kept going down, and it got to the point that I got really weak and I couldn't walk to the bathroom. So my husband went out and bought me a walker so he could push me to the bathroom because he was tired and he was weak. And so we did this for about 36 hours where he would push me to the bathroom, and my breathing got worse and worse and worse. So he says, we need to take you to the hospital. So he took me to the hospital, and he was sick, and he's like, well, I'm going to wait in the car because he couldn't come in with me. And I sat in the emergency room in the waiting room for 17 hours. And finally, he was in the car, and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I texted him, and I said, you need to go home, and you need to rest. I will call you when I'm done. I says, it looks like they might be getting me a room pretty soon. So the nurse finally came in, and she took me to the room, and they put me on oxygen, and they monitored me for about 10 hours, and I already started developing pneumonia in my lungs. And she says, but we're going to go ahead and send you home and give you a steroid, and we're going to send you home with a portable breathing machine, basically. It's an oxygen machine. And I said, all right. And they released me, and my husband picked me up, and it was probably around 3 or 4 in the afternoon already the next day. And I was very weak, and walking was very difficult, and we had to climb a flight of stairs, and I didn't know how I was going to do that. So I took it really slow, and I took a lot of breaks, and we came in, and I slept on the couch. Well, I tried to sleep. A couple days went by, and I told my husband, I said, I'm not feeling well. I said, something's wrong. I was having a hard time breathing still, even with that oxygen machine. And I told my husband, I think it's broken. And he's like, what do you mean broken? I said, it's not working. I said, I think it's broken. I said, you need to take it back and get me a new one. It's not working. And he's like, well, what's your pulse ox? And I wouldn't tell him because I was scared. But at that time, my oxygen levels were already in the low 80s. And he's like, okay. He says, try and do your inhaler, because they gave me an inhaler. He says, let's give yourself, a few more hours. Let's see if the steroid kicks in and starts working. So I said, all right. So we went ahead and we went to sleep. I couldn't sleep. I sat up. I couldn't breathe. And the next day, and he's like, and he was feeling sick too. So he's like, how are you feeling? I said, I don't feel good. I said, I'm tired. I'm not sleeping. And I said, I'm still having a very hard time breathing. He says, all right. So by then it was already about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And he's like, well, he said, let me see what your pulse ox is like. And I was too tired to resist anymore. I didn't resist, and my pulse ox was 58. I couldn't breathe, and my husband's like, I'm calling 911. So I called 911, and he knew everyone. He's been a firefighter paramedic for many, many years, 30 years. And they gave me a breathing treatment on my porch, because they wanted me to get into the chair, because they needed to take me down the stairs. I couldn't walk, and I was too weak. And he gave me a breathing treatment, and it brought me into the mid 60s or so. And then he tried to put an IV in me, and because I was so dehydrated, he couldn't get an IV in. So they went ahead and got me downstairs, put me on a stretcher, put me in an ambulance, and he gave me another breathing treatment, and it brought me up to about 68, my pulse ox. And they went lights and sirens to the hospital, and they took me to the trauma center. And when I got to the trauma center, the triage nurse wanted to keep me in the triage waiting room, and I tried to get off the stretcher. I said, I'm not staying 17 hours in this triage room. Take me home. And I said, I'll just go home. And so the paramedic, he's like, no, she needs to go to trauma. She can't breathe. And the nurse says, well, what's her pulse ox like? He says, after 2 breathing treatments, her pulse ox is 68. He says, she goes, take her to trauma 2 right now. And everything went so fast from there. They put me on this like CPAP machine, and I was able to breathe, but I was so tired and I was so exhausted. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. And I almost died. And the doctors, they were fighting in outside my door, and I could hear them. And the ICU doctor was like, we need to ventilate her, and the other doctors, no, let's keep her on this. He says, no, it's going to do more damage to her lungs, we need to intubate her. He says, and she goes, but she doesn't want to be intubated. She and another doctor's like, well, she's too out of it to really make decisions on what she wants and what she doesn't want. Let's talk to her husband. So my husband says, do what you have to do to save her life. So and that was, I don't know, I want to say around 7:30 at night. And the nurse came in, and the doctor, he says, he's like, I'm going to put your husband on the phone, and he's going to talk to you for a second. So the doctor put his phone up to my ear, and my husband was on there, and he said, you know, how much he loved me, and that he would see me soon. And then the doctor says, they're going to give you some medication, and it's going to put you to sleep, and you're going to rest. So within a few minutes, I guess, I was out, and I don't remember anything. That was a Sunday, I think. And I don't remember anything until Friday night. I was on a ventilator for 4.5, almost 5 days. And then that following weekend was even real fuzzy after they took me off. I was really out of it and everything. But I'm going to close my story because I'm already quite far into it. But I just wanted to explain to you where I was coming from and my journey on where it's been. And so anyway, after I got home, I was in rehab here at the house with home care people and everything for several months. It took me almost 4 months to be able to walk up and down my stairs. I'm doing a lot better. My breathing is better. I've got some lung damage, but I'm dealing with it, and I am back to preparing and trying to rebuild my pantry back up. My husband was off of work for 6 months, not 6 months, but 2 months. So we had to use pretty much all of our savings to live. So, and just live by basic necessities. So he's been great, and I love him. And I hope that you will like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and hear more about my journey and what I'm doing here. And I, of course, I won't show you all my preps, but I will show you a little and let you see what I've done in a small apartment. My apartment, my living space is probably 850, and my daughter's room is another 150 with her bathroom. So anyways, thank you again. I'm just rambling anyway. Thumbs up. Have a great day. Bye.